Labvaka, hello everyone. Welcome back to our channel. We're back with another review video of a national final, and this time it's going to be Latvia's Supernova. 20 acts are competing this year, and they have to go through a semi-final before the final and before Latvia chooses who they're going to send to Switzerland. What did we think about this song selection?
Well, I'm really excited about this song collection in Latvia. I think it's the strongest supernova we have had for many years. I mean, probably going back to say the glory days of 2014, 2015, when Latvia had really strong national finals. It does seem that qualifying last year with Dons has really kind of sort of helped kind of sort of galvanize some big names to put themselves forward this year, and there's some really good songs. So I think it's a great selection.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, when I saw the list of participating artists, I was excited and I feel like it's lived up to my expectations. I think my top three or four songs are some of my most played songs of the year so far. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
Wow.
Yeah, I think the same as the guy stated. Yeah, very strong selection, returning artist. Yeah, very exciting song. So I'm looking forward for the winner who would be because yeah, he's really very exciting.
I really wish that I shared all of your opinions, but unfortunately for me, like many of the songs sounds a little bit just like samey, and I don't really have like very clear standouts here. So, but then again, I'm not the biggest fan of Supernova, so I leave that role over to you, Joe. So, all right, let's start with the first song, and that's going to be Monster, which is performed by Grēta. Joe, let's start with you.
Yeah, so as I was saying, this year where we've got some really good kind of sort of modern contemporary pop songs, and this is a really good example that we're opening here with Monster. I see online people are comparing it to Tate McRae, who I think is a bit more kind of sort of mainstream, one of the artists that I don't generally tend to kind of sort of listen to. But it's that kind of sort of vibe that is very modern, very radio friendly, that you can imagine it being a hit very much. It's not the sort of thing that I would ordinarily listen to, but I still really enjoy it. It's just a really good, strong pop song with a nice chorus. It's a very good effort.
Yeah. The first time I listened to it, my brain instantly went to, I think because of the like drum loop in the song, like Nelly Furtado, maybe like Promiscuous or a song like that from maybe like mid-noughties, that sort of sound. Which was quite cool because I feel like that's not something I've heard a lot in national selections, that sort of sound. So it does stand out for those reasons. But I think for me that it lacks a bit of melody. I feel like the chorus is sort of quite stagnant on one level and it doesn't really go anywhere throughout the song. But it's okay. I think that's, yeah, as a summary of how I feel. I feel like it's kind of straight down the middle for me, especially when we've got such big songs in this selection. I worry that this is probably going to sort of stay in the semi-final.
And I do wonder with this one as well that Latvia themselves don't generally tend to go for this kind of sort of female pop song. There's so many that have fallen by the wayside that internationally we got really quite excited about. I think back to things like Adriana Minglane, Scared of Love from I think 2017, that was top of all of the international kind of sort of fans list. Didn't make it to the final. And I think you're right, this could well be one of those cases that internationally, I think it works, but will it work to Latvian ears?
Joe, out of 10 for Monster.
Out of 10 for Monster, I've given it an 8.
Asti?
Yeah, it's also an 8.
Sophie?
I've given it a 5, but I think especially what Joe was saying in terms of it being made for a live performance, if there's sort of Tate McRae-like choreography, it could definitely move up in terms of scores with the performance.
For me, this is a 6. It wasn't bad. Next up, we have Katrīna Gupalo. She was the cat lady last year. This year, she's Scarlett Challenger. Esti, what did you think about this one?
Yeah, the cat lays back. with kind of another style of song. And this song gives me really Lana Del Rey vibes. Actually, in some ways, that it is not a thing. Actually, I really like these kind of deep songs like Katrina actual song. So yeah, I'm really excited and I'm looking forward how she finishes because I wouldn't be happy if she stands on the stage of Eurovision. I would be really curious how she finishes this Nova. So yeah, let's see. I'm really curious for her.
See, for me, when I was listening to this, it just sounded like it's a very simple song, and that is both its best and its worst quality. And apart from the ooh la 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 in the chorus, like nothing really stood out for me. Um, Even like if I think about the beat change, up until the last chorus, it was also like very hardly noticeable. Her voice is lovely. We know that she can sing well. We know that she can perform well. So I'm pretty sure that she's going to come with a great performance in Supernova once again. However, once the show ends and once the recap comes, I think a lot of people are just going to think that like, oh yeah, like that was the lovely lady with a nice voice. And they're just going to forget about the song again as soon as the next song in the recap comes. It's nice, but I think it's just too forgettable for what it is, unfortunately.
Yeah, can be. Yeah, let's see.
Yeah.
Maybe the changes in the music it can help or I don't know, but yeah, let's see.
Yeah. Out of 10, Esti.
It's a 7.
Sophie?
7 as well. I love this. I think the best thing about a song is when you don't know what it's going to do next. And from start to finish, it took me on a journey. So yeah.
For me, this is going to be a 5. Joe?
Gloriously Crazy. This is a 7 for me as well.
And she's 1 point behind Grēta. Let's continue with Sinerģija and Bound by the Light. Sophie?
I have a little bit of a funny relationship with folky songs like these, with more traditional elements. I always sort of am underwhelmed on first listen, and then when it gets to live performances and things like that, and especially in selections that are really kind of pop heavy, they always sort of stand out and are more memorable. And a lot of the times they're more enjoyable on stage. I'm thinking of things like Zobzy Dub and, those sorts of things. But for some reason, it's not something I really would go to listen to. And I think this one, out of the couple of kind of folky songs in here, I'm thinking of Tautumeitas. I'm saying that right. I think this one is slightly less good. I think it's kind of like a bog standard sort of pop song with folky elements. But the sort of folkiness isn't, I don't know, it just doesn't really stand out to me for some reason. And yeah, even if it kind of went full ham with the folky elements and was kind of really in your face, sobsy dub, etc., it maybe wouldn't necessarily be my cup of tea anyways. So yeah,
How would you score it?
I'd give it a 4.
I actually agree. It's a 4 for me as well. Joe?
For me, it's a 3. Last time Madara performed in Latvian with ESCBubble, which was fantastic. And I think if they'd have kept this perhaps in Latvian, it might have had a bit more impact.
Didn't she have one other entry after SME, but it didn't actually make it to the final, I believe?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, she did.
Anyway, sorry. Esti.
Actually, it would be an 8 for me. I like
Oh.
it.
19 points for Sinerģija, which puts them in third. Tom's Kalderauskis is next with Domāju Tunats. Now, my view is that if you come to any music competition with a ballad, that ballad really needs to stand out in some way. It needs to be impressive. It needs to be memorable. It needs to, in a way, hit all the right feels. And you as an artist need to perform the hell out of it and sell it on stage. Even though this is like a perfectly nice piano ballad with some strings here and there, it doesn't really reach the peak that I feel like it should. And it just comes across as like, in a way, playing nice. Sort of like middle of the road. It's nice to listen to, but it could also just like be that time of the show when you're just gonna go and get yourself like a snack or a drink, whilst having it in the background just before like the next song starts, that you might enjoy it a little bit more. Vocally, he seems very strong. He's been to Supernova before as well, and like he performed very well, but that's all for me with this song. I think he's much better than the actual song. So I hope that he's going to come back once again, but that he's going to come back with something much more impressive and something much better. And for that reason, I'm going to give him a 5. Joe?
So I'm really pleased to see Tom's back in the competition. His song "We Went Back Down" in 2016 is one of my absolute favorite national final songs ever. Incredible voice. This song I think is lovely, and I think it's really well suited to show off the voice that he has. So I actually really quite like this. For me, it's a 7.
Okay. Asti?
It's more from me.
Sophie?
6.
That's 22 for Tom's. Let's continue with Tautumeitas with Burman Laimi. Joe?
Yeah, so when I said earlier about kind of sort of some of the big names entering, Tautumeitas have been an act that I've been familiar with for many years. They do an awful lot of stuff on Latvian TV, and they've got various kind of sort of previous hits that have got very good numbers on streaming platforms. And this is very true to their sound, as a kind of sort of the vocal harmonies, the kind of sort of the folky nature of this. I think is absolutely beautiful, the way that they sing it, and it's exactly what I expected from them. I just wasn't expecting them to be in the list. So every year ahead of Supernova, I kind of compile my list of who I think might be in, and there's always a kind of like a hope Tautumeitas are going to be there, but this is the first time actually they are there. So yeah, great to see them there. And can't wait to see the staging for it as well, and how they kind of sort of bring that kind of warmth that they have with their performances to the live stage. So yeah, very good.
Knowing how much of a fan Joe is of Supernova, I can actually imagine him having like a bingo card every year ahead of the show, and like he's finally happy he can tick off Tautumeitas from it. Let's go to the scores, Joe. Out of 10.
For me, it's an 8.
Asti?
2 from me.
Sophie?
Yeah, until I see it come alive on stage, it's not really something I would listen to, but I'm glad that it's here, and I appreciate these sort of songs are important to have. So yeah, but a 4 for now.
I'll go in between. I'll go with a 3 for this one. Sorry, Joe. Julianna is up next with Something in the Water. Esti?
Yes, this song is actually a vibe. It has a very nice atmosphere. I really like to listen these kind of songs when I just kick back and relax and want to take my mind to another universe or something like that. Yeah, so it is very deep, and it is very nice. And I heard that the singer Julianna made this song for own, so it is very for me it's 7 points. Yeah, I would be really curious for it. It's a kind of song that juries usually like in Eurovision, so yeah, I'd be curious about it. So yeah, 7 points.
So 7 from Esti. Sophie?
6.
I was less impressed by this one. I'm giving this one as well a 3. Joe?
For me, this one's a 4. It just doesn't really grab me.
And Julianna scores 20 points in total. We have Grēta still in the lead with 27, followed by Katrīna and Gupalo with 26, and Tom Kalderauskis in 3rd place with 22. All right, next up we have Emilija with Heartbeat. Sophie?
Yeah, I mean this with all the love possible, because I'm a big Melfest truther, but it's the cliche to say, but it does sort of sound a little bit like a Melfest reject to me. It has very sleek production, some nice sounds, but one of my biggest gripes in songs, especially songs for Eurovision, is a repetitive chorus. And I think after listening to the song once, I don't really need to hear that chorus again, to be honest. It's even worse when it's sort of the same word, just one word over and over and over again. But there's something to be said about the vocal. believe she's quite an established vocalist in Latvia. And if she can sort of hit those high notes in the chorus live, it might be quite impressive. But yeah, I'm not finding myself going back to listen to this one very much.
Yeah, I sort of agree. Like, I'm pretty sure this is not going to set the scoreboard on fire in Supernova either. But I think that it's a nice song to listen to. What I in particular enjoyed was Emilija playing around with her vocal, especially in the chorus, and that's the thing that stood out for me the most in this song. The thing I don't like is that the song was building up to a certain point, and then it stops. And then it restarts again, builds up, the chorus finishes, then it stops again, restarts. This happens like multiple times in the song, and it really ruins the impression for me. Overall, it's a decent enough song. It's quite easy to listen to. It's easy to sing along to because it's so repetitive. But I do think that the arrangements need to be rethought and redone for this one. Out of 10, Sophie.
5.
I'm still going to give it a 6. Joe?
So this is one of my favorites, and
Oh.
Emilija was actually top of my list of people that I expected to be in. She won X Factors a couple of years ago, so she's very popular, and I just think that it's just such an uplifting song. So for me, this is a 9.
Wow. Esti?
It's a 6 from me. It was nice. Yeah.
Let's see what we think about Adelina and Electric Love. Esti?
Okay, yeah, so this is a very light pop song. It's quite catchy, but for me, it's not very outstanding, to be honest. So it is something like, yeah, with listen in the background, the radio, something like that. So yeah, not outstanding, but yeah, it's quite nice, however. So yeah, I would rate it, yeah, with a 6 points as well. So in the middle, but yeah, I would be ridiculous, but I don't think that, yeah, this song is outstanding. But yeah, let's see how she finishes.
Yeah, I think this is a great pop song. I really enjoy it. It's just nice, and it just makes me smile when I listen to it. And I can just see it being kind of like a really good kind of sort of radio hit. But again, a bit like Grēta's song, I just don't know if this is the sort of thing that the Latvian public have got any kind of track record of voting for at all. So we've seen, songs. I mean, I mentioned Adriana Miglane and Kato and kind of others that have then just limped towards the bottom, despite having kind of sort of really good songs. So I do worry that this might not necessarily be as competitive as I would like it to be. But I really enjoy this song. I've had it on repeat, and it just makes me smile.
Let's put that into points. Esti?
Yeah, that's for me.
Sophie?
6.
I'm going to give it a 5. Joe?
Not for me, it's another 9. I love it.
And it's in a tie with Emilija and with Katrīna Gupalo with
Wow.
26.
The pop girlies are taking it.
Yeah. Grēta still in the lead though with 27. Let's see if anything's going to change after the next one. That's going to be Just's with Fit Right. I have to admit that, like, as soon as I started listening to it, this like 80s sounding synth pop beginning drew me in immediately. And I love how playful and how active the music is in most of its parts. However, the song's biggest weakness, in my view, is the actual chorus, where, especially in the first one, I don't really understand what is going on and why. And like, even though it came across as a mixture of odd and fun at the same time, I think overall the fun part was the one that still managed to prevail a little bit more for me. And in my view, this is one of the better songs in the selection. And even though Just was in the competition last year as well, and he didn't make the final, I hope and I think that this year with this song, he should make it because it's much better than his last year's song was. But it still doesn't reach Heartbeats, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, talking of heartbeats, the one thing this song needs, in my opinion, is a defibrillator, particularly when it gets to the chorus. And it's strange. I mean, when I first listened to it, it kicks on with the synths and the kind of sort of the 80s kind of sort of throwback feel. When I was the sort of thing that I'm always like really, really into. And I was thinking, yes, this is going to be a really good one. And then it reaches that chorus and it just drops. and the energy just gets sucked out of the song in the chorus, in that really kind of sort of important moment of the song, and it just goes so flat, and you just want to shake it and just kind of sort of bring it back to life. So for me, it just didn't work. The composition just didn't work for me. There's bits of it that I really like, and there's bits of it that I don't. And then when you throw it all together, this song just doesn't work for me at all, unfortunately.
Yeah, the same one. When I threw it all together, I still ended up a little bit on a positive note. So I'm gonna go with a 7. Joe?
So this one for me is just 2, unfortunately.
Harsh. Asti?
It's a 5 from me.
Sophie?
I more or less completely agree with you guys. I mean, this is like whiplash in a song, and maybe not in a good way like Katrīna Gupalo. But you know, it has some nice sounds in it, so I've given it 6.
20 points for you. Let's continue with song 10. That's going to be Lovable by Marta. Sophie?
So when I first heard this, instantly my brain went to a K-pop song called Loving Me by a group called 50/50, because the chords in the pre-chorus are basically identical to this song. And it has very kind of K-poppy production, kind of crisp electro pop sounds. And for that reason, I was really excited because that's my sort of thing. But again, I think we've got a bit of a curse in Latvia this year with repetitive choruses. It is sort of the same word repeated over and over again. And you know, it does get a little bit stale quite quickly. But I think for me, this has the edge over Emilija in terms of the kind of electro poppy song with a repetitive chorus, purely because of that difference in the production. And yeah, those sort of electro pop sounds are my kind of thing. So I do listen to it. It is kind of like a pleasant kind of background song, but I don't think it's going to be very competitive.
I usually like classic pop songs, nothing extra. It is very catchy. Yeah, I usually like to listen to these songs. Yeah, we can say that, yeah, maybe it's for Eurovision, maybe for Eurovision because mostly they have these songs. So no, I like it actually. So yes, I will be again very curious for this because yes, I had other like pop songs here in Supernova, but this is something different. It is maybe a little bit more faster, or I don't know. I would listen it more like those other pop songs from Supernova now.
Well, let's put that into points. Sophie?
6.
I actually liked Emilija a little bit more, so this is going to be a 5 for me. Joe?
So glad to see Marta back. Another one of those kind of sort of big names. Really pleased to see there. I would love this to be sung in Latvian. So there is a Latvian version that's out there as well called Tuvumā, and it doesn't feel as repetitive, although it is repetitive. I don't know if it's just about the kind of sort of the words, lovable, lovable, lovable. It just doesn't seem to me to be that great. But Tuvumā, Tuvumā, Tuvumā is just beautiful the way that it's kind of sort of performed. So if anyone sees this that can convince her to go with the Latvian language option, at least maybe for one chorus, it might break up some of that, which would bring my 7 to a 9. But for the moment, it's a 7.
Nasty?
It's an 8 from me.
Marta scores 26.
Nice.
So currently in the lead, we have Grēta, who scored 27 points, and we have a 4-way tie for second place between Emilija, Adelina, Marta, and Katrīna Gupalo, who all have 26. Let's continue with the 11th song. That's going to be Romance Isn't Dead, performed by Chris Noah. Joe?
Yeah, so again, this was another one from my bingo card. Another big name in Latvian pop. He also co-wrote with Monika Linkita last year for Stay, Tuto Tuto. So it wasn't a surprise to actually see him finally put his own name forward for Eurovision through Supernova. Interesting story, when I was in Riga in 2020, so Samantha Tina had just won, and I was in a taxi on the way back to the airport, and the taxi driver said, "Oh, what were you doing here in Latvia?" And I said, "Oh, I was here for Supernova," and I just kind of sort of got looks, tourists coming all this way for Supernova. And he was saying, "Oh, it's terrible, all this music." And Samantha Tina, he wasn't a fan, I was. And he was saying, the person that we need from Latvia, the person we need is this young artist, Chris Noah. He described him as the I think it described as the Ed Sheeran of the Baltics. So I downloaded some of the stuff to listen to on the plane and thought, actually, this is actually really good. He's got some really good stuff in his back catalogue in English, and more recently he's had some songs in Latvian which have done quite well domestically. Going back to the English language for this song, but for me, I don't know, it just lacks a little bit of oomph. There's a few of his songs that have actually got kind of sort of full band backings that get, really get going, and this for me just falls a little bit flat, I think. But it's nice to see him there, and I know that there's a taxi driver somewhere in Latvia that will be very happy, and maybe he'll even watch the show.
When you started this story, Joe, I thought that the way that this was going was that Chris Noah was actually your taxi driver.
No. That'll be fun.
Well, let's put that into points. Romance Isn't Dead. Out of 10, Joe.
For me, it's a 5.
Esti?
7. It was quite nice.
Sophie?
I feel like I'm giving a lot of 6s, but I suppose this means they're all slightly above average. So, but yeah, 6.
I think I'm giving a lot of 5s because everything is very average, including this. So 5. Let's continue with Bel Tempo and Legzdina and their song The Water. Now, this is the second song that's about water in Supernova, so I'm not sure like what's going on with water in Latvia that suddenly like that many people want to sing about it, but okay. I find this song rather intriguing than anything else. It doesn't really change much from the beginning until its end. It sort of like remains level or linear, however you want to pronounce it. I don't mind it, but I also don't feel like it's going places. It's different from most of the other songs, which is obviously a plus, and it can possibly stand out in this competition due to its simplicity and, in a way, I feel like sincerity. I wouldn't be surprised at all if this made the final in Supernova. I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't, but I'll be absolutely shocked if this ends up winning somehow miraculously. However, I am actually looking forward to seeing what they do on stage because I genuinely have no idea how I would imagine staging this type of a song. Until then, this is very middle of the road. So for me, this is just another 5. Joe?
So I was hoping for a bit more kind of sort of 90s throwback house from Legzdina. I think it's the first time that she's entered, but I think she's been in an interval before. So yeah, I was really pleased to see her name, but I just wanted something that just slapped a bit harder, like some of her other tracks do. So for me, it's a 6.
Esti?
4 from me.
And Sophie?
I like this one. It's a 7.
22 points for them. Next up, we have Palú with Delusional. Sophie?
So in keeping with the theme of Latvia taking me on a bit of a journey, this song began and it turned into something that I didn't really expect it to. I think the first kind of 10 seconds are little electro noises, and then by the chorus it's turned into a rock song, which is quite interesting and quite cool. But unfortunately for me, it teetered a little bit into kind of just sort of generic rock. Not really a great melody in the chorus to kind of keep me hooked. So yeah, I haven't found myself reaching for this one when I'm looking at the Supernova playlist. But yeah, it's hard to know how this sort of thing would do. But yeah, maybe not for me.
Well, Sophie, let's put that into points. Out of 10?
5.
It's another 5 for me as well. Joe?
So I didn't enjoy this one at all, unfortunately. Interestingly, there's a number of songs that are written by other people in the competition, and this was written by Roberts, or co-written by Roberts from Citi, which is so strange that it's so different to kind of other songs it's been involved in. But it's really not for me, unfortunately. It's a 1.
Harsh. Esti?
I will also be hard with the 2, unfortunately.
Wow.
13 points for Palú. Let's continue with Rūta Duduma and Chemical. Esti?
Okay, yeah, so this is one of the ballads of Supernova, but yeah, unfortunately for me, it is not an outstanding one. And I waited for a bigger chorus, to be honest, but it did rhyme, so I'm a little bit disappointed. that is why it became a little bit, flat and boring for me. So I don't know, I would not listen it in the background because it's not really interesting for me. So I would rate it with 3 points only.
3 from Esti. Sophie.
I really like this one. This is one of my top songs, and I feel like it's got a lot of staging potential. So yeah, I've given it 8.
Okay. I'm closer to Esti. It's going to be a 4 from me. Joe?
I love the fact that it has something a little bit different with those beats that that play throughout it. But for me, it doesn't work overall. I'm with Esti as a 3.
Another act trying to come back to Eurovision once again. It's Citi with Ramtai. And I have to start by saying that I really wasn't the biggest fan of Eat Your Salad. So my expectations for this one, when I found out that they were entering again, were very low. And I ended up being very positively surprised as they came back with something that's like completely different, still quite up tempo, but like not even a hint of their previous entry. This is very modern, it's very up to date. It can easily make you move when you're listening to it, and it's a good party song. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. It's quite catchy as well, especially in the last bit. So yeah, good job. And I can actually see them as like one of the top contenders in this competition, and with a good reason.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. And I think this is leagues above Eat Your Salad in terms of production. Just the whole execution of the song is so much better. And yeah, like you said, it's something completely different from them compared to the previous entry. And I don't want to point fingers about plagiarism, but I'm sure some people are going to be saying that, and you know, naturally there's only so many syllables and sounds in Latin languages, but the ramtai diggy 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 is, you know, reminiscent of Rim Tim Taggy Dim and Dum Diggy Da recent as well. But I like both of those songs, so it's not a problem for me at all. And although kind of my first time listening to it, I could feel myself not wanting to like it and not wanting to be hooked in. By the end, I was like, I've just succumbed to it, and I think it's just an absolute banger, I have to be honest. And yeah, like you say, it's definitely going to be a top contender for sure.
We all have songs that we don't like, that we don't want to like, but end up really loving them. So
Yeah.
we get it. All right, I'll kick this one off with an 8. Joe?
For me, it's a 9.
Esti?
For me, it's a 5.
Esti didn't get herself to love it yet.
I
Sophie?
know.
You'll get there, I promise. I've given it 8 as well.
We have a new leader. Citi with 30 points take the lead, and Grēta is
Wow.
still in second place with 27.
Wow.
Interesting.
Next up, we have the Ludvig with Ligo. Joe, let's start with you.
Yeah, so another one returning to the competition. So I remember the Ludvig from 2017 when he come second, I think, to Triana Parks. So again, we were there, and he was only 16 at the time. And I remember that we were interviewing him before the show, and he dropped his lucky pedal. So I'm hoping that he's forgotten about that and he doesn't kind of sort of continue to blame me for it. But yeah, really nice guy. And really, really pleased to see him come back. He hasn't necessarily done a huge amount over the last few years, though. I think he was just finishing his studies and now is kind of sort of coming back with a slightly new sound. I love the way that he's mixing the traditional kind of sort of elements and arrangements in this with the kind of sort of the modern pop song. And I just think it works really, really well. And I think this is the sort of thing that I think could hoover votes in Latvia. Because it really nods to Latvian culture and Latvian kind of sort of singing choirs and things like that, that I think could work really, really well. I remember when this first came out on streaming, and I listened to it probably about 10, 11 times in a row because I was just like, wow, this is just so good. Yeah, it's just fantastic to see a song like this that's completely different, that I think stands out, that I think has the quality. The only slight downside, I suppose, is a little bit of the lyrics from the Ludvig's part himself. The up, down, left, right is perhaps, you know, it's a little bit basic. But I just think the whole thing just works really well, and I think it just has that charm, and I think it just ticks all of the boxes.
I can see this became very popular among us. I'm Indian fans, but yeah, even though it is usually not the kind of song that I listen to, is one of the outstanding songs, Supernova. Yeah, I think, and yeah, it is very fun with the folk sentence slash. So it is very, very interesting. And yeah, I would say that he has this song has a chance to win Super this year. But yeah, we have to. This is the one song is really different from the others. I think. Yeah, we have to check what is going on with it.
Joe, out of 10.
For me, it's a 10.
Esti?
It's a 6 from me.
Sophie?
Yeah, I loved the Ludvig song in 2017, and I love that you can sort of see the development. And he's learned how to make the perfect Eurovision song. This is fantastic. It's a 9.
I just remember really disliking his previous entry. I remember finding it very boring, but I actually love this one, so this is a 9 for me as well. And with that, we have a new leader as the Ludvig scored 34 points. Citi are now in second place with 30, and Grēta is in third with 27. And only 4 songs left to go, so let's continue with Tepat and Sadzejot. Esti.
Okay, so this song was quite average for me. I don't know, newly not the one kind of song for me. I had to really think about it even more, but I would rate it what I thought about it, so it'd be a 5 from me, to be honest.
I know. My opinion couldn't be any more different. I think this is a bit of a hidden gem. I love this. It's so layered, and I love the way that it sort of starts very simplistic with the piano, and then the guitar comes in, and then like the final third of the song is just like absolute chaos, but for some reason it works. And there's like a saxophone, and they're just throwing the kitchen sink at the wall, and it's just brilliant. And yeah, every time I listen to it, I uncover new kind of bits in the instrumentation and the production that are really good. And it's an earworm as well. Kind of the melody and the chorus gets stuck in my head. And yeah, maybe this could kind of sneak up the scoreboard. I'm not sure if it's a contender for the win, but I'm really enjoying listening to it.
Esti, if I'm not wrong, you mentioned that this is a 5 for you.
Yes, exactly.
Sophie?
8.
I feel like I'm going to be the harshest one with this one. I'm going to give this a 4. Joe?
And for me, it's a 6.
23 points for Tepat. Now let's continue with KoBra and their song Zelts. Joe?
Yeah, so this is another one that I'm going to get really excited about. So it's one of my favorites in the selection. And again, this is a very kind of sort of Latvian song that you get in Supernova, that has that kind of sort of chilled vibe, but just musically, it's just such a beautiful composition. It reminds me a little bit, if you think back to last year, where you had Vestulis and Kur, and the way that was a bit of a sleeper hit, that people really started to kind of sort of gain momentum with it after a few listens. And I think this will be the same, because I just think it's got so much quality to it, and the layers in it, I just think are absolutely beautiful. So yeah, I would be over the moon if Latvia could be represented by something like this. It just feels very Latvian. It just, yeah, wonderful. Love it.
I have a completely different opinion about this one. Sorry, Joe. Because
Well,
for me,
right.
I know, right? Because for me, this is just yet another song that remains unmemorable, if that's a word. If not, I just invented one. Starts off very nice and gentle, speeds up a bit in the chorus, but the only thing that really, in a way, stands out here is the vocals. And that's probably going to be the only thing I'll ever remember about this song, that they can sing. And when I was listening to this, I actually remembered the Slovak Eurovision entry from 2009. Not because I can hum the song, not because I remember the song, not because I remember anything about it, except for the fact that the two of them could sing. I couldn't hum the tune of that song for my life, and it's probably going to be the same thing with this one as well after Supernova. So it's just not for me. I'm sorry, but they can sing, and I expect a very good vocal performance. But that's where it ends. Out of 10, Joe.
So for me, this again is a potential winner. It's a 10.
Wow. Esti?
It's a 5 from it. I have the same opinion as you.
Sophie?
I've given it a 6, but it grows on me more every day, and I think, that score is climbing, so it's a tentative 6.
It might be a Vestalis thing then for you.
Yeah, I think it could creep into the top few for sure. Not top 2, top few.
Well, it won for me for sure. This is a 4. Second to last act, it's going to be Luka with Stronger. Sophie?
Yeah, I'm going to be completely transparent with this one. I gave this a really high score on first listen. I guess because the production's quite polished, it's kind of a well-constructed song. But I haven't revisited it since, and I'm not sure it's retained that score, to be honest. I think it's just there's not necessarily anything bad to say about it, but I think in this selection it's just not going to stand out. We've got so much going on. I think it kind of is going to fade into the background as it has done on my playlist. But I've still given it a high score because I think it's fairly good. But yeah, it's been a little bit forgettable for me.
Okay, well, I'll counter that because I'm in the opposite situation that when I scored this, it was on kind of sort of the first couple of listens, and I kind of thought, yeah, it's okay. But then I've listened to it a few more times since, and I think this is one that will grow on me. So I love the way that it kind of sort of builds from just the opening beautiful vocal, and then it kind of sort of goes very kind of sort of gradually into kind of sort of a bit more of a kind of sort of a rocky sense that just seemed to kind of sort of come from nowhere. And I just think it's nice the way that it's put together, the way that it has that progression. She seems very nice. Not an artist that I'm familiar with. So yeah, good to discover her as a new name. Yeah, let's see what she brings to the live stage.
Let's see how you scored it. Sophie?
7 for now.
For me, this is another middle of the road song, so for me, this is a 5. Joe?
So I scored it a 4, but
Okay.
maybe Sophie and I can swap.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And Esti?
For me, it's also a 7.
And last but not least, we have Markus Riva with Bigger Than This. And I'll start because I really, really, really want to see Markus Riva finally represent Latvia someday in Eurovision. Because after all, he did try about like 17 times. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but you get my point. However, this won't be his year once again. And not just because his song is not the best one, but because his song is, again, just above average. And it's just the same thing that he keeps coming back to Supernova with. And in a way, like sampling something that sounds like the bridge of Siren Song also didn't really help it stand out so much. I do expect a great performance from him because he knows how to perform well, and he's probably going to reach the finals of Supernova this year. But I feel like that's where his journey in this year's Supernova will and it should end as well.
Yeah, I have the same opinion as you because I did more from him, to be honest. But yeah, this song became a little bit flat and boring. So it is not outstanding at all for me. So yeah, I have the same opinion as you.
Well, as I mentioned, this is just above average for me. So for me, this is going to be a 6. Joe?
So I'm a little bit disappointed by this. He's had a couple of songs out in the last 12 months in Latvian that are absolute bangers, really fantastic tracks that are among my top tracks of the year. So I thought maybe it's going to be his year, but then this song dropped, and it's not the one. He's got a Eurovision song in him. He really genuinely has, but not this one. So for me, it's a 3.
Esti?
From the 4.
Sophie?
Yeah, with peace and love to this Supernova icon, this is not his best effort, so it's a 5.
Markus Riva only scored 18, which means that the Ludvig is our winner, who scored 34 points. Sinerģija remained in second place with 30. And the first song we discussed today, Grēta, she finished in third place with Monster. Now, who are we actually most looking forward to seeing on stage, and who do we have high expectations from? What do you guys think?
So for me, it's my two tens. So the Ludvig, who I see as perhaps the most likely winner as well, but KoBra, because it's a song that I think really could do anything, and I think it could surprise an awful lot of people.
I'm personally really looking forward to seeing what Beltempo and Legzdina are going to do, because as mentioned, I have no idea what to expect from their stage performance. And apart from that, obviously, the Ludvig as well, as he's the top favorite and he's the one to beat, in my opinion, as well. So it will be interesting to see if he actually manages to live up to that expectation.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the Ludvig for me as well. My imagination is running wild because there's so much staging potential with this song, especially in the bridge. And I'm picturing something very atmospheric, and I can see the LEDs. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Also looking forward to Citi as well, but I feel like we sort of know what to expect from them a little bit more, whereas the Ludvig's it's gone a completely different way. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see both of them though.
Yeah, the Luka will be the big one. I think the same as you. But yeah, I would also love for my heart, nice for my heart. Yeah, Gupalo and Adelina. I'll be very interested, and I will be very curious for them as well. Yeah, the Ludvig will be the big one. I get the same as you.
Well, you guys watching, let us know in the comment section down below whether you agree, whether you disagree with any of our thoughts and opinions. Let us know which ones are your personal favorites and the act that you're most looking forward to seeing on stage in Supernova. Also, subscribe to our channel to be up to date with all of our upcoming videos. There's going to be a whole bunch of interviews with national final artists. There's going to be more review videos like this one, and we are preparing some other material for you in the build-up to Eurovision. I want to thank Sophie, Esti, and Joe for joining me for this video, and we're going to see all of you very soon with our next video. Thanks, guys. See you.